purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to create a semi-log plot for a grain size distribution plot. We'll start off, I have my data that I want to plot already in here. I have the grain size information and the percent finder by mass. So I'll select that data that I want to plot, go to the insert menu and select charts. And if I want them to be straight lines between each data point, I can select the scatter straight lines. If I want it to be a smooth line, I can select the scatter with smooth lines. We can also select smooth or straight lines showing the data points. For this plot, I'm just going to select the smooth scatter with smooth lines. And now our chart is placed into our Excel spreadsheet. Currently, it's normal in both the X and Y axis. In order to make the X axis a log scale, I'm going to select that axis. I will double click on it. And you can see that a Format Axis menu comes up, and then I'll scroll down through there, and we can see we'll get a logarithmic scale, so I can change that x-axis to a logarithmic scale. We can see that the y-axis right now is located where x is equal to 1. I can also change that location. You can see in this Format Axis menu, there's an axis value. I'll change that to 0.01. And that will change my y-axis to be crossing where x is equal to 0.01. Enter, and that is done. A couple of things we want to do before we're done with this plot is we do want to add axis titles. And by clicking that plus button by the chart and then putting the check mark by axis titles, the y and x axes show up. I can select the axis label and then just change the label. So I'll change that to percent finder by mass for the y-axis. And then I can select the x-axis title and change that to grain size. And the grain size in millimeters. And depending on what I'm doing, I may or may not have a chart title for this. I'm going to delete my chart title. Also, I may not want my y-axis to have a value greater than 100%. So I can go back, double click on my y-axis, and I can change the maximum value in the bounds section to 100. And there's my grain size distribution. One of the things I would want to do on this plot to help me when I'm starting to look at percent finder by mass for say a D30 or D60 is I would want to add some grid lines. Right now I only have grid lines at the major values on the x-axis, and so I'm going to when I select this menu here, I have the option to add grid lines along the minor vertical or minor horizontal. So if I select minor, I get these lines that show up in my plot. And so that'll be helpful for, again, determining the percent finder by mass at 30% or 60% or 10%. That, I hope, gives you enough information for you to be able to plot grain size distributions in a semi-log plot.